Welcome, everybody. Friday, September 8th, John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. Coming to you live from Chicago for the last day. Heading back to D.C. tomorrow. So next week, in the next few months, I will be back to lovely Washington. Let me get rolling on TikTok here while we're waiting. Introduce yourselves. You guys know how this works. Say where you are from, if you would, while I get TikTok rolling on my iPad. Here we go. Live, I tell you. Oops. I'll update my title. Hang on a second, guys. Sorry. Today was a very busy day. We had sort of a family lunch, so I was a little late for that. Ukraine war update. There we go. Okay, Ukraine war update. Go live. There we go. Woo! All right. Welcome all. Here we go. There's TikTok. Okay. TikTok is ready. Boom. Ta-da! Anyway, welcome all. I was so busy I didn't even have time to put the list. I do a list on my non-TikTok broadcast for you guys. I didn't even get the subject list today because I was like so pressed for time. So sorry about that. Where are my glasses? I guess I could use those glasses. Sorry, I'm looking for I have a couple different pairs of reading glasses. One that's a little slightly nicer that I use for you guys, but not going to use it today because I don't know where the hell it is. That's okay. Anyway, guys, introduce yourselves. You know how this works. Hey, Ash. Hey, Amanda. First couple minutes, we hang out. We say hello while we wait for people on TikTok and YouTube and elsewhere to join us. Thank you, John, for the gift on TikTok. So yeah, where's everybody from? You know how we do this. All the Europeans, especially, always fun, like the Americans, but always kind of fun to see. Oh, and the Australians. Hey, Paul. Good to see you. Thank you. I would block. Paul, did you ever get the that thing we mailed that was stuck in New York for 2 months? I got mine finally, which is funny. Thank you, Ava. I ordered something from Ukraine and it got stuck for a month. It was a patch. A stupid patch got stuck for a month at U.S. Customs at the same place where they're holding your stuff hostage. So just curious. Hey, guys, on TikTok. Hey, Crazy American, you're in Germany. I never quite remember that. Thank you, Big Hawk, for the TikTok gift. Woo! Anyway, you didn't get it. It's still stuck there. Yeah. Literally, it took them a month. So anyway, U.S. Customs is funny. Paul won one of the auctions, and it was, I think, a patch. I don't even remember now. It was something small, and it's been sitting for literally months at U.S. Customs in New York. Thank you, Allie, for the gifts on TikTok. I appreciate that. Woo! Anyway, happy Friday, all. I am flying out tomorrow to D.C., so I'm a basket case. I'm always a mess before I fly. It's always like, so that's okay. Anyway, no, TikTok is playing games, I can tell. Because TikTok, usually we get more people coming, which means TikTok isn't notifying people that I'm here today, which is very annoying. All right, what do you do? All right, guys, I'm going to start in a minute anyway. Thank you, Jedamon, for the gifts. I guess I'll start anyway. Why not? So welcome, guys. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. It is my nightly show. Thank you, Salty, that I do Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Thank you. Who is that? Elizabeth. Thank you for that. The way the show works, I will go through the news, for about the first half hour or show, the stuff I think is important. Here's my list. And then, thank you, Elizabeth. And then take your guys' questions in the second half. If anybody wants to be really generous and support my work with a super chat question on YouTube, I will always get to those immediately, unless I forget, of course, but I'll always get to those immediately. And then, there you go. So, and it's a way of supporting my work. For you guys on TikTok, thank you, Josh and Magical. Thank you for the gifts, guys. TikTok gifts, of course, any of those gifts that fly up on the screen, I will always take a moment and thank you guys when I see them. So just so you know, so thank you for that. Let's get rolling. So yeah, there are no topics on YouTube because I didn't have time. So I just deleted it. It made life easier. And yeah, I'm going to get rolling, guys. But yeah, TikTok is low today. TikTok, something happened, which is always annoying when TikTok does that. Thank you, Suzanne. But TikTok clearly isn't telling people today. Thank you, Ellie, that we're live. Hopefully, and the subtitles are back. That's very funny. We're having a little issue with TikTok and subtitles. They come and go. Thank you, Lisa. So, all right, let me get rolling, guys. So, the Elon Musk. So, a little bit of a latest story on this. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about Elon Musk, Mundashi, and there is a new book by Walter Isaacson, who is a very well-known American biographer. He has written biographies of Steve Jobs from Apple. He wrote, sorry, my nose is itching again, allergies, every time I come on with you guys. Steve Jobs of Apple. He wrote an amazing biography, very highly regarded biography of Leonardo da Vinci a few years ago. And he has just finished a biography of Elon Musk. And the biography comes out on the 12th, I think, so like in 4 days, next week. And included in it is the story that Elon Musk pulled the plug on a Ukrainian attack on Crimea last fall. I think it was September, October. And the story is, and Isaacson is very good. He is a very credible journalist. If he is saying this happened, it is a very good guess that this happened. Okay. So Isaacson says that Elon Musk found out that the Ukrainians were attacking Crimea. Now, just to remind folks, Crimea Peninsula in southern Ukraine. Okay. The Russians invaded and stole this in 2014 from the Ukrainians, still occupying it today. And of course, they're occupying this part of Ukraine as well. But Crimea is the real, thank you, AJ. Crimea is certainly the real gem. I mean, Ukraine wants all of its territory back, but they really want Crimea back. And thank you, adventurers. And on the same token, thank you, AJ. Putin is just as freaked out about losing Crimea as the Ukrainians are about getting it back. So really prized territory. Well, the Ukrainians send some either submarine or torpedo drones, really. I mean, they're boat drones, right? The boats, the unmanned boats they have that are drones to attack the Russian fleet in southern Crimea. The Elon finds out about it. This is according to the book. And by the way, I talked to my Ukrainian sources, let's put it that way. And I was told, oh yes, Elon Musk would know when the attack was happening because they were using Starlink, Elon's internet from the satellites to coordinate the attack, of course, because they're trying to control the drones. You control the drones through satellite internet. And anyway, my Ukrainian friend said, oh yes, absolutely, Elon Musk would have known about the attack because Starlink has the information to tell. Musk reportedly finds out about the attack, freaks out, and here's an added fact. After talking to senior Russian officials on the phone, Musk decides this Ukrainian attack is a very unwise idea because it will lead to nuclear war. He convinced himself after talking to Russian officials on the phone that the Russians are going to use their nukes, mind you, right? Now we're kind of used to this BS about the Russians using their nukes. So Musk orders his engineers, according to the book, thank you, Charles, to cut off the internet in that area. Well, the drones go dead. They float to shore. The Russians obviously then just destroy them. Thank you, not Jedrick and Charles. Somebody on Twitter just posted one of the articles from September, I think it was, or October. And I even remember this because remember it was one of the first looks we got at the Ukrainian drones. And there was a drone boat that had floated ashore in Crimea. And there was a picture, and the story was Ukrainian drone boat floats ashore. And we were all wondering, I wonder what happened. It looks like this is what happened. Well, the boats all died. Russians got them. This would have been a major attack on the Russian fleet. Keep in mind, last September, October was before the Russians really kind of knew what was going on with all the Ukrainian drones. Thank you, Dawn. So they could have done a devastating blow to the Russians. Elon stops it. Well, Elon comes out today. And of course, as Elon does, and I must say this because I am one who used to believe all the hype about Elon Musk. I thought he was brilliant, right? I was amazed by this guy, Tesla, SpaceX. I always say the rocket that goes up and comes down, so cool, right? Very impressed by Elon Musk. So I was not an Elon hater, but I am a Twitter lover. And I've been on Twitter since 2008 and was paying a lot of attention to Elon Musk once he joined Twitter. And I've got to say, very unimpressed with this guy. I'm very unimpressed with his intelligence because I've been witnessing him literally all day. I'm reading Elon Musk's inner thoughts on Twitter for a year now. He's not very intelligent. He's got some, my opinion, psychological issues, clearly, I think. Hey, Susan. Hope you're well. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate the gift there. He's got, I think, some psychological issues. He has the sort of classic thing I've described that the Russians have, which is this mixture of insecurity mixed with a very high self-esteem, very high sense of themselves. It's like the Russians think they walk on water, but they also think everybody hates them, right? And I think Elon Musk is the same thing. Elon Musk thinks he's the smartest man in the world, but he also is incredibly insecure about it. So anyway, so Elon comes out today. I'm sorry, the reason I was telling you about Elon background, one thing I have learned about Elon Musk, I think the man's a liar. He so many times on Twitter over the last year, I have seen Elon talk about something and just totally lie. He makes a statement and literally you go research it and it's 180 degrees different from what Elon said. Like, I don't even want to get into all of it now. I think the man's a liar. So when Elon says something, I always go, it reminds me of some other people who we don't talk about, who when they say things, you immediately go, are they lying? Right? Okay. Elon comes out today and says, that never happened. I never shut off the internet that killed the Ukrainian attack on Crimea on the Russian fleet. In fact, we never turned on the internet in Crimea, he claims, okay? And the Ukrainians begged me to turn it back on, or to turn it on, and I refused because they were launching an attack on Crimea. And like I said, it would be World War III and we'd be a party to the war, this kind of stuff. As I said, Elon Musk lies about so many things. I don't believe him. B, even if he's telling the truth, people are still pissed at him because he's admitting that he refused to turn on the internet. Basically, Elon Musk is now saying he was intentionally keeping the internet turned off in Crimea, in southern Ukraine, because he didn't want the Ukrainians attacking Crimea, because the Russians had already talked to him. Thank you, Life. Part of this is my analysis. The Russians we knew had already talked to Elon. We knew that before this. Elon had admitted he talked to Putin. At least he claimed he talked to Putin last year. Elon didn't want them going after Crimea. Elon was afraid if they went after Crimea, well, two things. One, he claims nuclear war. I think Elon was also worried that the Russians would go after his satellites. That was another report we had last year, that he was afraid of that. So basically, Elon was looking after his own personal interests. The fact that the Ukrainians came to him and said, we need the internet, like stop geofencing, right? Stop geofencing our attacks. And Elon refused. So it just boggles my mind. But again, the man's a liar. I wouldn't trust in a million years. And Walter Isaacson, the author of the Elon biography, is not a liar. He's a smart guy. But anyway, that's the latest on what's up with Elon. Just, in fairness, I wanted to present Elon's side, even though I think Elon, as I said, is a bald-faced liar. So, all right, let's keep going here, guys. So, little bit on the counteroffensive. Ukraine is advancing in two areas, which is good news. Slowly. I mean, there are no huge counteroffensive updates, okay, today, but some small updates. Zaporizhia. So this is, okay, once again, let me, the Russians invaded and controlled Crimea from 2014. All of this that they invaded and controlled last year. Okay, and still control. I'm going to show you a really cool map from CNN in a second that is kind of nice because it shows you, actually, let me show you right now. Why not? It shows you what the Russians controlled after the invasion and what they control now. And it's interesting because it gives you a sense of basically how well the Ukrainians have done. Let me save this here really quick. All right, here we go. So, I'm looking at whether I want to see if I can make this a little, oh, there. Oh, nice. Okay. This makes it darker. I made the map better. This is CNN's map. So I show all of you. Let me turn down the light a little bit. Sorry, we have to, when we do things on all these systems, it's got to be a little bit low tech to make it easy. I will first show you guys on TikTok. So the red and the blue combined is what Russia controlled last year. The blue is what Russia lost. The red is what they still control. So Russia lost half of the territory it controlled in Ukraine. Now it's still got the remaining part, the red, Russia still controls. So you guys can see too. The red is what Russia still controls. The blue is what Russia did control last year when they invaded, but they lost with all the Ukrainian counteroffensives taking place. So, but I thought it was nice. It gives you a nice sense of kind of where the war is and kind of where it's gone. So Zaporizhia, there are big battles taking place in a number of locations, okay? We keep hearing about battles here across the river, the Dnipro River. Not as big, but the Ukrainians control north of the river, the Russians control south, and there are some Ukrainian troops stationed now on the south side of the river. So we do hear about battles there. Nothing big, but we do hear about battles there. We hear about battles here in Zaporizhia. This is the big counteroffensive battle. Okay, this is the biggest one, the best one, the most important one, the one that I think the hopes are pegged highest on. There is another counteroffensive battle going just a little bit to the east, right here, southwest of Donetsk in Ukraine as well. Another big area, big battle, not going as well. I mean, it's not going badly, it's going slowly, but not going as quickly as the successes of the last few weeks in the other place. This battle is intending to come all the way down here to Berdyansk. It would cut the Russian occupation in half. That's the goal overall of the counteroffensive, to cut the Russian occupation in half. The one over here in Zaporizhia is to come down here to Melitopol, again, cut the Russian occupation in half. You've also got battles here around Bakhmut, and you've got battle here up around Kupiansk, okay? Well, today, there have been Ukrainian advances south of Robotine in Zaporizhia. That means right here at the biggest battle that we're paying attention to, where the Ukrainians have had the most success in the last week or two, really. There have been more advances now with the Ukrainians, which is great. Still got a long ways to go, still have a bloody way to go because it's going to be dangerous for them, but they have been more advances. And Bakhmut, which is the one up here, that's the town that the Russians spent like 11 months capturing, remember? And it was the town, I mean, frankly, it matters to Ukrainians, understandably, but generally speaking, the military folks in the West think Bakhmut doesn't matter strategically. Nonetheless, the Russians spent 11 months capturing it. They used the Wagner group to capture it. Remember, the only Russian troops who were any good were the Wagner fighters. I mean, they're criminals, but they know how to fight. Thank you, Tiago and Arifa. So Bakhmut today, Ukrainian forces took control of more than half of the village of Klishivka, located south of Bakhmut. Now, what's interesting about that, so the Ukrainians have been doing very well south of Bakhmut. They're moving up slowly. This area of Klishivka, what's interesting about that is that, and the Ukrainians now, it looks like they control half of it, and they're expanding their control. It is an area apparently that is high up on a hill, so that if the Ukrainians can control it, they can then just pummel the Russians in Bakhmut and just destroy the Russian forces there. So it's good the Ukrainians are advancing, but it's particularly good where the Ukrainians are advancing because it's, again, high up, and that really puts them in a good position for attacking the Russians. Anyway, good news on that. Bad news today. There was a Russian military strike on the center of Kryvyi Rih today. Now, Kryvyi Rih is interesting because it is Zelensky's hometown. It is on my map. I always forget that. The wonderful map. It's right here on the map. Okay, so this is Ukrainian-held territory. Remember, all of this is, maybe like this, is Russian-controlled. So it's the Ukrainian-controlled area. Not a strategically important town. The Russians attack it regularly because it's Zelensky's hometown. They want to attack his village. I mean, that's how petty they are and how vindictive they are. So they attacked today. The center of the town killed one person, injured 72. So, civilians, of course, because it's what the Russians do. At Ukraine's, this is an interesting story. I didn't get much more on this, but at Ukraine's request, I don't know if Callum's here. Callum's like my go-to guy. Callum and Mustard are my go-to guys, but some of the rest of you are too. I know some of the rest of you know the military. Deb, I think, does, and some of the rest of you know the military. Kelly knows the military stuff. Listen to the story. At Ukraine's request, the Pentagon has decided to prolong the training. Thank you, Nicola. To prolong the training of Ukrainian soldiers on Abrams tanks, Voice of America reported today. Now, interesting. It was the Ukrainians asking to do longer training, so it wasn't the West doing it, which is good. I'm just curious from all of your, you military perspective, folks, what that means. I don't think it's bad news. It could even be good news in the sense that the Ukrainians did their training and said, we would love to do more. Like maybe the trainers said, hey, we could also train you about this. We can train you about this. And the trainers may have said, you know what, let's do more. The other thing is Ultra Lincoln just said, it could simply be they want them to be ready. And, Kelly, I was asking you and Callum, among others, because you're always my good defense experts, but I know the rest of you are too. This story today that the Pentagon has decided to prolong, thank you, Makab, has prolonged the training of Ukrainian soldiers on Abrams tanks at the request of the Ukrainian government. And I'm trying to get a sense of, is that a negative story? Is that a positive story? I mean, more training never hurts, but obviously we'd like to get these guys in the field with their Abrams tanks, Kilo is saying the more familiar they are with the equipment and how to fight it is, the better. Yep. Dark Irish, better understanding, more knowledge. Yep. And I mean, I was thinking as well. You're just an amateur who reads, but you're good at this stuff. I respect you've got like you seem to have good military insights or strategic insights. It improved proficiency. Chazak is saying, it also makes me wonder too, like I said, that their trainers could have said, God, I wish we had 2 more weeks and we could train you on blah, 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 blah. And the Ukrainians may have reported back home and they said, yeah, let's, like, sure. You want to do another 2 weeks? This is great. Anyway, I just wanted to put it out there. Thank you, Big Hawk. Just trying to figure out, but I think fair enough. The general response I'm getting from you guys is extra. Okay, Tula Kivi, whose name I'll never pronounce correctly, but you are Baltic. Baltic names and Finnish names, especially, are just gone to me. Extra training is always great. So there we go. All right, and thank you, Marie, for the paper crane. More news. Oops, sorry, real quick. See who's. Oops. Sorry, I'm getting a little added message here about this. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Somebody weighed in to give me a little background, but basically, they are a new generation of tank. They wanted to get more training. There you go. All right, guys. Why my ancestors left Ukraine? Because it was 2,000 years ago and they found a homeland in Greece instead. That's about it. Thank you, adventurers. Yeah, my ancestors were in Ukraine, but it was 2,000 years ago that my ancestors were in Ukraine. Not that recent, nice land. Wish we had kept it, but what do you do? The first 10 German-made Leopard 1 tanks from Denmark have arrived in Ukraine. The Danish Armed Forces said today. An additional 10 more tanks, just came out of the factory where they were undergoing renovation, and they should soon be sent to Ukraine as well. So that's nice. Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, today said that the U.S. would send. Oh, this was interesting. This was in response to. These were the ancient Greeks that were there, Alec. I want to say it was around 2,000 years, I think, maybe longer, that the Greeks were there. It was some of the ancient Greeks were in Ukraine, among other places. We were very proficient back then. Antony Blinken. So this was in response to the story of Romania getting attacked by the Russian drones. Remember, I've talked in general about how the Russians have been attacking Ukraine with drones. The Russians want to stop Ukraine from selling grain to the rest of the world. And they have. They've put an effective stop on it. They've been bombing, they've been threatening ships. They haven't bombed the ships. They've been threatening the ships, but they've been bombing Ukrainian ports. They're basically going after the Ukrainian means of exporting their grain. They're blowing up warehouses containing the grain. They're blowing up the ports that are used to transfer the grain to the ships, right? Well, one of the places the Russians have been bombing is Izmail in Ukraine, which is down here. It is, thank you, Kanausi. It is on the Danube River. It is right across the river from Romania, which is a NATO country. And the Russians have been warned previously. You are getting dangerously close to NATO when you keep bombing this area. Watch it. Well, what did the Russians do? Being the Russians, they went ahead and did it anyway. And earlier this week, it looks like the Russians. Oops, sorry, this is cute. I'm getting my. Oh, that's cute. Sorry, I'm getting updates from Ukrainians about helping my mom. So it's nice. We've got a Ukrainian actually coming tonight. I'm very excited. A refugee coming to talk about helping my mom around the house and helping her out and everything else. So yay. That's what the text messages I'm getting. So a couple nights ago, the Ukrainians see what looks to be a Russian drone. I mean, they know the Russian drones. The Russian drones flying into Ukrainian territory, hitting something and exploding. And there's a video of a really nice explosion, right? The Ukrainians say the Russian drones just attacked Romania. The Romanians got pissed off and said, no. And for like 24 hours, the Romanians were being just like, almost pissed off at the Ukrainians, right? Sort of saying this. Thank you, Rose, for the gift. Well, the video is out there. and you've got all these OSINT guys who are these like independent intelligence guys. And they all, and gals, they love to look at videos and pictures, and they're able to just look at any video or any picture practically and discern where it is. Well, they look at this picture and they go, this is Romania, right? Thank you, Sexseed. So the Romanian government comes out yesterday and says, okay, this might be Romania. We're pissed off. Russia, what's going on? Well, today, the U.S. Secretary of State announced, and thank you, Succeed, for the gift. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken announced that the U.S. is going to send additional rotations of F-16 fighter jets to a NATO mission to secure the airspace of Romania. We don't have anything more, but it sounds like basically we are going to be sending a few more F-16s to do regular patrols in Romania just to kind of, wave the flag and show the Russians they better be careful, right? But that's good. It gives Romania a little more security. It makes the Russians pay a little bit of a price because the Russians don't want more American F-16s on their borders. So this was good. I thought this was kind of a good story. Quick sip of water. Ryan, here's the problem. So I always like to occasionally respond to this stuff, but a troll on TikTok just said, no more money for Romania, help America instead. The problem is the folks who are opposed to sending money to Ukraine are also opposed to spending money on America. They're the people who killed the $3 trillion infrastructure bill that Biden wanted to pass. Biden wanted to pass a bill helping America. Remember, he was going to help families get childcare. Thank you, Timothy. Working families get childcare. $3 trillion of help, infrastructure. They were going to build roads. They were going to do everything. And what happens? The very people who are the ones who hate Ukraine, who love Putin, and want to cut any funding to Ukraine, they're the same ones who killed spending on Americans. They're the same people. They want to cut the budget. By the way, they're the same people who want to cut Social Security and Medicare. By the way, for the rest of you, Social Security is the national retirement program. We don't get a lot. We get between like $1,000, and if you're rich, maybe you get $3,000 a month. If you're poor, maybe you get $500 a month. It's not a lot, but it's something. It's a pension from the government. Thank you, Cami. The same people who want to cut aid to Ukraine want to cut Social Security and Medicare. They want to cut old people's health benefits guaranteed by the government and Social Security pension. So I think it's important to put this out there because it's something that we don't talk about enough. Whenever the people say, don't fund Ukraine and fund America instead, their elected leaders are the ones who do not want to fund America at all. So just getting that straight for guys, okay? No, because it's important a lot of times those guys that make these comments are trolls anyway. You know what I mean? They're Russians or whoever just trying to stir trouble. But I think it's important to reiterate occasionally some of these basic points because it's important, for people to know that. Because it's true. These guys are never going to spend a dime on the U.S. Never. They'll spend it on tax cuts for the rich. But you think they're going to help you with your health care or your child care? Minimum wage, anything to help you get more money in your pocket, they're not going to do. No. Any case, or help you, as you say. Thank you, Louis. By the way, they're the same guys that also object to disaster funding. Whenever it's not in their state, the same people opposing Ukraine are the same people who say, no, we shouldn't help Florida in the hurricane. We shouldn't help, all these different states because they want to cut. Anyway, all right, enough of that. All right, guys, I've got a few more stories here and then we'll do questions. Let me do a quick pitch for my work because as you guys know, or maybe you don't if you're new here, I do this for free. I've been doing it since the war broke out. So I've been doing it since March of last year, a year and a half now. Thank you, Ernie. And that's why I'm always hitting you guys up for gifts because it helps me keep doing this work because quite literally, this is my job full time is covering Ukraine. Throughout the day, I'm doing videos on TikTok. I didn't do them today because we had family stuff, but I'm doing the videos there, doing the nightly broadcast for you guys, doing some weekend shows for you as well. So in order to keep doing that, I've been relying on your guys' generosity with gifts, with memberships. Anyway, that's why I keep asking. But as always, thank you for the gifts on TikTok. Hedge, thank you right there. Beautiful gift there. And who did the little Courtney? Thank you. I saw the heart behind the seashore there. But that's why I appreciate the gifts on TikTok. Thank you, Pablo. The YouTube gifts, the super questions, the super chats. Thank you, Martin, or Martin with the hands. You can also do memberships. You can do memberships on TikTok. There's the SNN network. The mods can tell you how, but it's a network that you can. Oh, thank you, Dawn, for the campfire. It's an basically a monthly membership on TikTok. You can do monthly memberships on YouTube, which basically just donates to me every month, and you can turn it off whenever you want. Thank you, Pedro. But thank you, Paul, for the super sticker. That's another way, very generous. The monthly memberships on YouTube, you can do. I think at the bottom of the screen where the comment box is, you'll see a $sign. You should click it and see memberships. I think it's never really clear, but you'll see folks like Susan and who is it? Jesse. I'm scrolling back now. Dark Irish, Greg, and these folks, Anne, who have their names in green. Their names are in green on TikTok, on YouTube, because they're monthly subscribers. So thank you all. Anyway, lots of different ways you guys can help. And finally, if you want, you could always go and just help me with PayPal or Venmo or Cash App. You can find that on my profile on TikTok. Click the link. Or any of you can go to aravosis.com, which is my page of links. Okay, enough of the pitch. I hate the money stuff, but it's important. A little more news. Lithuania has announced it has donated 4.5 million rounds of ammunition to Ukraine. That is excellent. Thank you, Pablo. Reuters. Oh, this was interesting. Reuters had a really interesting story today. This is. Yeah, I know, Kyle. Sorry, Kyle's mentioning something, which is a good point. Some of the folks who don't, especially the folks not on TikTok, always want. My mom, when she was first watching me on here, she was like, "I don't understand what you're doing about this gift thing." She watches on YouTube. She's like, "What is this gift thing?" People on TikTok are able to give. Thank you, Frank, for the super sticker. People on TikTok are able to give gifts in kind of a really funny way, with putting hats on your head and medieval armor, and I mean, it's really cool physical stuff on you. And I like to try to thank people when they do those gifts, because like on YouTube, you guys can do the super questions and stuff. They don't have that on TikTok. So there's really, for you guys, I can even, like what I do with Frank, I can even highlight it, right? There's no way to really do that with TikTok. So the way I can highlight it is by thanking people for the gifts. So anyway, I know it interrupts a little, but I think it's important, and I do appreciate you guys helping. So if I can, I'll do quick little interjections about the gifts. So Reuters had an interesting story today about Ukraine coming this winter and concerns about energy. As you guys know, last year, remember how the Russians, thank you, Frank, for the gift there, how the Russians were attacking Ukraine's infrastructure and trying to knock out their energy. Thank you, Arifa, for the wave. Appreciate that. They were basically bombing, thank you, Bonnie, the power plants, everything they could, dealing with Ukrainian power, electrical infrastructure, to turn out the lights and to turn out the heating over the winter. Thank you, Darren, because Ukraine gets cold in the winter, very cold and snowy in the winter, right? This winter, it looks like, according to Reuters, the Ukrainians are going to be better prepared. I had already reported to you guys maybe a month ago that Ukraine had already stored, I don't know how they do it, but had stored enough, I don't know if it was natural gas or what it was, but enough power to, I think it might have been natural gas. I don't know if anybody remembers, but to basically, or coal even, to get them through the winter. So they stored a lot of energy already just in case. That was the first thing. The other thing they did is they bolstered their air defenses, including newly donated German-made Gepard systems, sleek green turrets mounted on the chassis of a battle tank. That Reuters reporter was clearly enthralled with the Gepard. The military says one such system has shot down 5 Shahed drones since its first use a month ago, 100% success rate. So they're hoping that this winter will be easier for Ukraine with the electricity and heating, therefore, because liquid natural gas. That's what I was thinking, Mike, because the Ukrainians have stored a lot of natural gas, maybe coal too, but also they've got better air defenses up now, thanks to the Germans, among others, to protect the Ukrainian power plants. So that's good. Thank you, Cheryl, for the TikTok gifts. I've only got two more stories, guys. Interesting poll in Russia. Thank you, Vicky. You guys often ask about what people are thinking in Russia. And of course, it's a little difficult because Russia is a dictatorship, right? I mean, trying to get people to answer an honest poll, but listen to this. According to a poll conducted by Levada, which is a polling service people quote a lot, so I'm assuming they're decent in Russia. A poll conducted by Levada in August, the share of people in Russia who definitely support the actions of the army in Ukraine fell to its lowest level since very early in the conflict. Listen to this. It was a high of 52% in March of last year. This is interesting, okay? You'd think a poll in Russia, people would tell a pollster 100% support the military, right? I mean, if you definitely support the actions of the military, if you don't, you'd be afraid you're going to get killed or lose your job or whatever, right? So the fact that when the war happened in March of 2022, 52% of Russians definitely supported the military's actions in Ukraine. That's horrific. Only 52%, right? Now it's down to 38%. Only 38% of Russians definitely. Now, mind you, we haven't seen the other poll questions. The other poll questions might be mostly, might be sometimes, but wouldn't you think like every Russian would pretty much for their own safety say, oh, definitely. If you're asked by a pollster, do you definitely support the actions of our military in Ukraine? Like, hello, right? It was very interesting to me. I thought those numbers were fascinating. Thank you, Bonnie. Finally, this was a really horrific story. I don't know if you guys saw this. This Chinese opera singer goes to Mariupol, Ukraine. Mariupol is this town here, okay, southeastern Ukraine, controlled by the Russians. It is the town that the Russians destroyed. Destroyed this town. This is the town that the Russians bombed the drama theater that had children inside, right? And remember how it had the name, thank you, Bonnie, in Russian, like Dechi or whatever, and children, the word children in Russian written on the side. It had like 1,000 people inside. The Russians bombed it, even though they knew there were children inside. U.S. media did an investigation. I think it was Reuters or Associated Press, and found 600 people died in that bombing the Russians did. Mariupol is also the city that the Russians bombed the maternity hospital. Remember when they bombed the hospital that takes care of pregnant women and their children? And there was the image of the woman on the stretcher being carried out who's totally pregnant. She died 2 days later along with her baby. Okay, this is Mariupol. Thank you, Trilitic. Horrific what the Russians did to this town, right? So a Chinese woman who sings opera gets invited there by the Russians, right? She comes with a bunch of Chinese bloggers, shows up at the destroyed drama theater that the Russians massacred hundreds of, 600 people, including children, and she does a little impromptu concert in this drama theater. Thank you, Jean-Francois. I mean, insane what they did. The Ukraine, I'll tell you, her name is Wang Fang or Wang Fang, who knows? I'm going to go with Wang Fang, but W-A-N-G-F-A-N-G, accompanied by several Chinese bloggers. Ukraine has officially requested an explanation from the Chinese. I don't blame them. This was a great quote. This was an advisor to the exiled mayor of the city. The advisor's name is Petro Andriushenko. Listen to this. I hope the spirits of the more than 600 Mariupol residents killed by the Russians liked your concert so much that they will haunt her with horrors for the rest of her life. I mean, again, guys, that's the end of the news for today. And we'll do questions and comments now. There is something different about the Russians. And I bring this up for that reason. The fact that the Russians would think, hey, we slaughtered a bunch of children in this theater. Let's have someone give a concert there, right? I mean, the fact, like, what would make you think of doing that? I mean, you're not just dealing with a country that I think is evil in many ways, but you're dealing with people who don't think like us. There is something different about the Russians. And in some ways, this may just be part of that discussion of, are the Russians European? Are they not European, right? Some people say Western Russia is Europe, Eastern Russia is Asia. I'm not convinced the Russians are European. I think they think differently than we do about a lot of things. I mean, obviously, they're human beings, right? But there's something, I mean, Duggar's saying they're medieval. There's something almost medieval about this kind of thinking that you would think, hey, let's blow up a bunch of children. I mean, first you'd have to do that, right? And mind you, like, right? But B, we're going to then bring people to do a little concert to sort of go on the bodies of all the dead. I mean, literally on the ground of all the dead. Really sick stuff. Anyway. All right, guys. All right, let's do our Q&A here. All right, we've got time. We got ample time here. So this is the part of the show where we normally take questions and all of that, or just talk about whatever topics you guys want to talk to about with all of this. But let's jump in. News on the jets. If you mean the F-16s, no, but there won't be any news. The training is ongoing. The training won't be done until February, probably January, February, and they're certainly not getting the jets until then. Again, thank you, Vicky, for the Happy Friday gift. Have you heard about the Bild article that the UN sent Lavrov negotiating grain deal? Not sure what you mean. I mean, the UN has certainly trying to get, right? I mean, the UN has been trying to get Russia to agree to a deal. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing if they're talking to Russia, right? Because the UN was part of the original grain deal to let Ukraine export grain without Russia blowing it up. Thank you, Larissa. Adrian is saying the U.S. is going to send ATACMS, which are these missiles we've been wanting, to Ukraine. Was that confirmed somewhere? Because it wasn't right when I started the show. I mean, that would be big news if it's true. I'm a little skeptical. Thank you, Tomcat. I'm going to look right here while we're talking, actually. Look at my Twitter, because my defense Twitter would be all over it if that were true. Okay. That story, this is breaking news, guys. This is good. Thank you, Adrian. You were right. This is from ABC News. The Biden administration, okay, mind you, okay. Wait. Don't get too excited, folks. As always, I always say this when you hear stories, go and get, as Daniel's saying, kind of true. That's the issue. Go and read the story, because it's not often what people tell you. Okay, this is pretty good, but listen, the Biden administration is likely to send Ukraine long-range armed Army tactical missile systems, ATACMS, to help in the fight to repel Russia's invasion, U.S. officials say. Likely. One U.S. official who had access to security assistance plans said they are coming. That's good. The official noted that, as always, such plans are subject to change until officially announced. Yes. A second official said the missiles are on the table and likely to be included in an upcoming security assistance package, adding that a final decision has not been made. It could be months before Ukraine receives the missiles, the official said. With a range of up to 190 miles, 300 kilometers, say, depending on the version, deploying ATACMS this is from ABC News, could allow Ukraine to reach targets nearly 4 times further away than with the currently provided rockets for its U.S. HIMARS systems and the M270 multiple launch rocket systems. There you go. That's good. I will say this. The likely is bad. The U.S. official saying it's a done deal is good. The U.S. official saying it's on the table, but it still has to be approved by Biden or whatever. Thank you, Poppy. That is I haven't seen that one in a while. That's a very nice one. Thank you for that. This is good news. It is not a done deal. I will say this. Once things like this slip, it then makes it harder, because now, here's the problem. Now they're getting people's hopes up. So now every week that Biden doesn't do it, you're going to have people criticizing even more that the ATACMS aren't. And if they come out and say, if somebody senior is asked about this and says no, then it's going to look like Biden took it back, which also in politics gets you in a lot of trouble. It's one thing not to do something. It's another thing to take it back. So obviously we've been pissed that Biden hasn't given these weapons to Ukraine yet. But now that it looks like pretty much it's a done deal, if it doesn't happen, it means Biden killed it for some reason, right? Which causes more trouble for people. Anyway, that's a big deal. Wow. No, this is good. These are excellent. They're used for the HIMARS system, also multiple launch rocket systems. They go about 200 miles. The current rockets we've given them only go about 50 miles. Now, those are the official distances. So the actual distances are usually farther, which is good. Ukraine needs these. Oh, I mean, Jesus. Let me show you the counteroffensive. Okay, guys? So Ukraine is like right here. Okay. They want to get all the way down here to Mariupol so they can cut Russia's occupation in half. One of the reasons, or a large reason actually, they need to get down further south is they want to get within range of this coastal highway that is used that Russia uses to transport supplies, logistics for the military all the way around here. If they get down here or they get down here, they can blow up the highway. The reason they can't blow up the highway now is the weapons don't go far enough because we won't give them the longer range missiles. So they use the HIMARS. The HIMARS can only go 60 miles or whatever it is, 100 kilometers. That's just on the edge of the distance to the highway. If they were to bring the HIMAR right here to hit the highway, it would get blown up because it would be in the middle of the battlefield. They would have to with the current weapons, they would have to bring it in the middle of the biggest fighting going on in the counteroffensive. You don't do that with a weapon as important as the HIMARS when you've only got 20 of them or however many. So these longer range missiles would mean the Ukrainians could destroy the highways. They could destroy the Russian supplies. And that's hugely important because if the Russians can't resupply, I mean, really interesting. Earlier in the war, somebody did an analysis that was very simple, but really interesting. Earlier in the war, this province alone, right, Kherson, the Russians had like 70,000 troops. I don't know how many they've got now, but they had like 70,000 troops. And the analysis was, think about that. They've got 70,000 troops here. These 70,000 men need to eat 3 times a day. That means you need 210,000 meals a day to feed these guys. Where are you getting it from? You're bringing it by truck here and train, and you're bringing it by across the Kerch Bridge, right? Thank you, by the way, for the gift there. You're bringing it across the Kerch Bridge, which is why the Ukrainians keep hitting the Kerch Bridge to blow it up and why they want to be able to hit the highways. So imagine, though, the amount of just food alone you need. And the Russians have, I mean, how many men are they up to? Did anybody know what the recent numbers are of how many troops Russia has in Ukraine? Is it back to 250,000 or 300,000? I don't know if it's back to that. It was down like around 200 or so. But with the new mobilizations and everything else, I'm going to go 250. But 250 means you're talking 600 to 750,000 meals a day you're having to serve. That's huge. It's absolutely huge. So anyway, this is great news if it's true. It took way too long. But, thank you, Bonnie. I mean, I always worry about it being, likely. I will say this. Some of the other things, what was the most recent one that we were waiting for Biden? The cluster munitions, I think. That was the most recent one that we heard maybe a week before something was coming. And we were like, oh my God, could it be true? And it was true. So, I think it's a good sign. But, they need to just get off the dime and do this stuff. Like, what's the bottom line is we're at a point in the war that nobody should be saying, hey, here's a weapon system we haven't given Ukraine. Let's give them that. We should have already given them any weapon system we were going to give them, So, hey, Stelux. Stelux is from Romania. Should you be afraid? Nope, because you are a NATO member. You are a NATO member. The Russians attack you, we are going to war to defend you. So literally, no, do not be afraid. And the Russians will not attack you because the Russians are not doing well enough in Ukraine. They would be terrified to take on NATO because they can't. I mean, they're having a hard time beating Ukraine, right? So yeah, no, you should not be worried in Romania. Also, I think the Russian drones it was a mistake, but it was a negligent mistake, Somebody asking what Luis is saying what the range is. The range of the new missiles, the reported range is around 190 miles or 300 kilometers, but that's the reported range. So you tell me, military folks, could it be 250 miles? Like if in terms of how we normally estimate publicly what we say and privately what it does, but at least publicly it's almost 200 miles or 300 kilometers, which is really good. And it uses the HIMARS system or the multiple launch rocket system. Very similar to the Storm Shadow, Brandon. Yep. Thank you, Vicky. What's the French one called? The Scalp? It's not Scalp, was it? I do speak some Greek. Yep. Is it Scalp? The French version of the Storm Shadow missiles. But yes, similar distances. But the Storm Shadows have got to be fired from planes, so that's its own problem, right? Whereas these are fired from the ground from a HIMARS and Scalp. There you go. Thank you, Markle. So there you go. All right. What else we got going on, guys? things are heating up with Azerbaijan and Armenia. I'm not paying a lot of attention. What I have been paying attention is the Russians. Kala, kego. Kego ksero ligo lirica. Well, arketa. Oki ligo la oki pola. Sorry, we're talking a little Greek here amongst friends here on our TikTok. But what I've been following has been that Armenia is kind of getting fed up with Russia, and they were very close to Russia before, and now they're kind of getting fed up, as one of the former Soviet places, and they've now warmed up to Ukraine. They're sending for the first time humanitarian aid to Ukraine, which is interesting. They're criticizing Russia because Russia is now so involved with the war in Ukraine that Russia can't help, I guess, the Armenians militarily. Thank you, Tom, for the gift. So very interesting. I mean, very interesting, though. And the Russians kind of came out and took a swipe at the Armenians today. So that alliance, I mean, the battle in Ukraine is affecting Russia's alliance with its other former Soviet states that it was close to, which is great. I mean, absolutely great. Thank you, Randy. What else we got, guys? If Ukraine gets near Berdyansk and has ATACMS, Russia's screwed range-wise. Well, Russia would be screwed. Are you saying Kerch Bridge, Daniel? Or for what? Thank you, Mark. Mark Arl. Actually, there's an interesting question, too. Now, I'm not sure what happens with ATACMS and, would an ATACM be any better at taking out... Oh, nice, Jess. Would it be any better at taking out the Kerch Bridge than a Storm Shadow, for example? Or would it be kind of the same, using an ATACMS? By the way, how much are the ATACMS? Larger payload, Callum says. That's good. Okay. How much are the ATACMS per missile? The Storm Shadows, I think, aren't the Storm Shadows like 1 or 2 million a missile, I think? Oh, thank you, Pablo, and Ryan as well. Daniel says way, way better. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, so the ATACMS are way, way better than the, that's okay. Klaus, good to see you. 150,000, that's it? So the ATACMS are better and that much cheaper? Somebody pull it up. Somebody do a quick search while we're sitting here. Like, what does Wikipedia or something say as the price of ATACMS in general? Thank you, your mommy. What are we saying here? Nope, I visited mom for a month and worked from here, and I'm heading back to DC tomorrow. So that's why, still mom. But mom's old. I like to help her out when I can. She's 93. So, but yeah, thank you, your mommy. That's good. But Wikipedia is good because Wikipedia, you can go look at the source. That's why we like Wikipedia. You go and then you check out the source and see if it's legit. Derek is saying 1.5 million. That would put it in the same ballpark. 1.2 million. Okay, so that's kind of the same ballpark then as the Storm Shadow, isn't it? Isn't it? I think so. Looks like it. Yeah. So, all right. How is the Ukrainian offensive going? Well, but slow. It has been going better in the last couple of weeks. I actually mentioned this yesterday. There was an article in The Economist magazine, which I used to write for, by the way, that they interviewed an official with the Defense Intelligence Agency, U.S. Intelligence Agency of the Pentagon, basically. And he said that he would have been pessimistic 2 weeks ago on the counteroffensive, and now he is, I forget the exact word, if he said decidedly more optimistic. There was some phrase like, actually, I've got it. Hey, hold on a second. I think I've still got yesterday. I do still have yesterday's notes. Let me tell you, because it was a nice story. Hang on here. Let's tell you here. Oh, no, this could be an old, this is an old one. No, this is an old one. Yesterday's I've got buried somewhere. I don't know where it is, but basically that he was decidedly more optimistic now than he was 2 weeks ago because of the recent advances Ukraine's having. But he, I think, put the odds at around 50% of Ukraine being able to basically reach the coast by the end of the year. But here's the thing. If Ukraine gets ATACMS, they may not need to reach the coast, because the idea of reaching the coast was cutting the Russian occupation in half and cutting the Russian logistics line so that all of a sudden one half of the occupation and the other can't share anything. If you've got these ATACMS missiles, you can destroy the logistics between the two. So that may also be why the U.S. is doing this. They're trying to think, you know what, now may be the time where we don't have a choice, because we don't know how effectively the counteroffensive is going to go for the rest of the year. Daniel says, ATACMS have inferior range to Storm Shadow, yes, and can't bunker bust. but the M39 ATACMS can take out an airfield like Saki. Storm Shadow has different uses, generals in hotels. Yes, they did a good job with that. Plus, Storm Shadow / Scalp are air-launched, exactly. ATACMS is a ground-launched, which makes it easier. And what's nice with the ATACMS and HIMARS is basically like a rocket system that is mobile. It's like a vehicle so that it can shoot and scoot, as they say. So it can fire and be gone, I think like within a minute, right? It can stop within a minute. I think it can fire and then be gone, so that there isn't enough time for the Russians to locate it and bomb it, basically, by seeing where did the missiles come from, right? So it's a really good system. Well, as we know, HIMARS has been very effective, but all the better if they can do this. Did the Russian tourists in Crimea ever go home? I don't know. Although it's September now, so it probably is cut back anyway at this point, right? Okay. Anyway. Yep. Oh yeah, they absolutely are used by HIMARS. They're fired by HIMARS, which is great. Thank you, Jay Lennox, for the gift. I know the cardboard drones I'm partial to because it was just such a funny story. Literally, the Australian drones given to Ukraine are made from cardboard and held together with rubber bands. And they used it to blow up some like multi-million-dollar Russian airplanes. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Putin is going to the G20? Oh, deciding not to go. The G7 or the G20? He's not invited to the G7. You mean the G20, the one happening right now in India, magical. Is that what you mean? I think that's what you mean. The G20. Putin, we knew, I think, good question. I don't remember if we knew whether he was going to go or not. That's an interesting question. Had he shown up in India, it would have been a big problem, because I will bet you if Putin showed up, Biden wouldn't go and the European countries wouldn't go. I would guarantee you that they told, thank you, Edward, for that. We'll get to it in a second. I would guarantee you that the US and the European countries told India, if Putin shows up, we are not showing up. And that would be a big problem, because, this is a big deal for India having the G20. India does play both sides, but they can't afford to have all the developed countries just leave, because then it's not the G20 anymore. And it just, yeah. Sorry, Edward Pozo is, by the way, thank you, Edward. That was very generous of you. A super chat question. You've criticized Biden a lot on not giving enough to Ukraine, but with the Republicans and general public sentiment that we are giving too much be part of the issue. Okay, so he's saying, is part of the reason that Biden isn't giving as much to Ukraine, like the ATACMS that I've been criticizing him not giving, because Republican opposition and general public sentiment? I don't think so. Now it could be, right? But this is, I think this is a problem of Biden's own making. Biden, as a Democrat, and this is a Democratic problem, and I've talked to you guys about this before, anybody who watches the show regularly, but Democrats think, this is the saying I use, is Democrats think good news sells itself. So if they're doing something good, if they're trying to pass legislation that's good, they don't need to convince you that it's good, because it's good. You're smart people. You'll look and go, that's good, right? So Ukraine, why does Biden have to educate you about Ukraine, right? Thank you, Mandashi. Yeah, good night, Callum. Right? Biden shouldn't have to educate people about Ukraine, because Ukraine's good. Well, the problem is, it's not. We can't do Discord. We cannot do Discord tonight because we've got one of the Ukrainian women coming tonight, one of the Ukrainian refugees that we're interviewing. So we can't. Sorry. Sunday, I will do my Sunday show. I didn't mention that. Sunday, we will do Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We will do my subscription only, the monthly subscribers, TikTok, YouTube, Discord, Twitch. What am I missing? Ko-fi. All of TikTok folks can find me on TikTok at 11 a.m. The TikTok monthly subscribers, and everybody else can find us on Discord. Look for the John's weekly get-together thing. Usually it's Saturday. It'll be Sunday. Actually, I'll set up an event if I remember, so that it's there. In any case, the problem I got with Biden on this is I don't think Biden. Oh, that's true. Amanda's GoFundMe. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. It was in my notes and I forgot. So one of the other things we're doing, guys, we often do fundraisers for Ukraine, and we've done a lot over the year. Thank you, Tomcat. But actually, $100,000 we've done for Ukraine. But I wanted to mention we are doing a special fundraiser right now for one of our moderators, Amanda. Goes by Manda Bear. You guys Any of you who are regulars know her. Her dog appears to have cancer, and it's really scary. The surgery in her mouth, the poor thing. The dog is only 5 years old. The surgery, the scan is going to be several $1,000s, and the surgery is going to be like $5,000. It's crazy. I mean, and she lives in an area of the country that isn't that expensive. She got a second opinion. This is just what it is. So it's going to be like $7,500 to save this poor dog. So we're trying to see if we can raise some money to help out, because Amanda's been with us for a year or over a year. She, like the other mods, do this for free. I mean, sorry, I apologize for that, but they've been really wonderful helping out. And if there's, if we could, I mean, I donated some, if everybody can just donate a little just to help out, it'd be nice. You can find the link to she did a GoFundMe, which has a little more about it and has the dog. You can find her GoFundMe at my aravosis.com page. So you guys on TikTok, either type in aravosis.com, my last name.com, in your browser, and it'll pull up my page. And the very first thing is her GoFundMe. You can click, or on TikTok, just click the link in my profile and it'll pull up a page. Here, I'll show you guys. This is TikTok, but also if you just go to aravosis.com, it pulls up it pulls up my page. So this is the link in my bio on TikTok, and you will see the very first thing. It says, "Help me save Ruby." Okay. "Help me save Ruby," the dog of moderator Mandy, and you click it and it pulls up her GoFundMe. Now, she's already got 1,000, which is amazing, but this is very expensive surgery for this poor dog. So if you guys can help, I'd appreciate it. Okay, please, if you can. I understand, not everybody can, but it's nice to help our own. We've been helping the Ukrainians, which is great, but if we can help our own occasionally, I think that's nice too. So thank you guys if you can. Anyway, yeah, so the Biden thing, let me just put this briefly. Biden has not explained sufficiently, for my taste, to the American people why we are in Ukraine. And part of that, and I use Donald Trump as my example, okay? I am not a fan of Donald Trump, but Donald Trump knows how to message. Put aside the lying. I'm not talking about lying, but I'm talking about, if you look at what Donald Trump says, he says it very specifically. He comes up with nicknames for people, right? He's able to really define an issue in a way that you'll agree with him or dislike somebody else, right? He's running for president, right? "I'm going to build a wall," right? I mean, we still remember that phrase, and everybody remembers that was a big drug. I mean, he's and he repeats it 10 times a day. 10 times a day, he will repeat it and keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. There was an Obama program helping veterans. I think it was Veterans Choice or some such thing. Trump used to claim he created it. Obama created it. Trump didn't create it. All the fact checkers proved. But Trump, 150 times as president, Trump claimed he created the program. I mean, that is, again, put aside the lie. That's how you message. That's how you message. Right? You've got, and you've got to explain to the American people why we're there, why it's important, why it matters for American national security. And I would argue why America should be involved in the world. Trump right now, that part of the Republican Party, which is majority of the Republican Party, has become isolationist. They become nativist, right? They don't want to get involved around the world. We should be educating people about why it matters. Thank you. Who is that? It's Christopher. Thank you for that, Christopher. Right? This is an opportunity for Biden to educate Americans about why America should be involved in the world. And he's not doing it. And that's why the poll numbers are getting worse. They're still tied, but the poll numbers are getting worse because he's not. I mean, again, I can tell you my reasons. I can't tell you Biden's reasons for being involved. I think, and by the way, I'll stop with this. I think Biden gives off mixed signals about Ukraine, personally. The fact that he gives some things but not others, that he gives but says, "Oh boy, we better be careful. We can't escalate. It'll be nuclear war." He mentioned nuclear war and World War III a number of times at the beginning. Well, why are we involved in something that could lead to World War III, right? I mean, the man literally suggested our involvement could lead to World War III if we do the wrong thing. I don't think it can. But if you're hearing this, you're going, "Holy cow, Biden said this could lead to World War III, then why are we there?" Right? I mean, I think he's horrible at messaging. So the problem is bottom line, I'll stop now. Daniel, thank you for that. Are you giving me this for my soliloquy, Daniel? Thank you for that. I think it is more difficult for Biden now because the Republicans are more energized at being anti-Ukraine, right? The polls are worse in the US. They're still kind of tied, but they're worse in the US, all because Biden has been a bad communicator about Ukraine. So you're right. Now it is harder for Biden to give attackums and all this kind of stuff, you know? Mom's house totally should remind you of the 70s because we bought it in the early 70s and this is what it looked like. A lot of the rest of the house was renovated and looks very modern, but we always liked I like the siding. I grew up with it. It's like warm and cozy, but it's very 1970s paneling. Yeah. Yeah. It is. Well, actually, it was here when we moved in. So it's probably 60s or 50s even because we moved in the early 70s and it was already here. Yeah. So there. All right, guys, a little bit more and then I'm going to call it quits because as I said, we've got somebody coming over shortly and I want to talk to Mom before. Hope they're not here early. I don't know about that. What else we got, guys? Maybe another question or two, and then we'll go. Well, that's another thing. Now, Keps is saying it's a truism that if you repeat the same lie constantly, it becomes reality. But it's. I think, and I mean, a lot of my experience has been doing political messaging, right? So marketing, stuff like that, in addition to journalism and everything else. I think the reason the lie becomes true if you repeat it enough is because anything becomes true if you repeat it enough, right? The way you sell people on a message is talking about it incessantly and repeatedly. Thank you, Jay. So that the truth becomes true as well for people if you repeat it enough. But people have to hear it a lot for it to really sink in. And that's the problem. So, which is also why the lie sinks in because they hear the lie enough and they go, well, I keep hearing this, but it's actually the same mechanism. They keep hearing it. They keep hearing it. They keep hearing it. And it finally, by osmosis starts to kind of like a sponge. They start to absorb the message and go, okay, I get it, but it takes a while, dark Irish, horrible. Okay, go. Yeah, hope she's okay. That's scary. We had to do that a few weeks ago too. Not fun. Ended up being fine, but when they're that age, you get scared and you got to be careful. Tula Kiwi, 97-year-old grandpa. Wow. All right, guys, you know what? I'm going to call it quits because we're already at 10 after. And like I said, I've got to do, we've got this interview coming up. I will do the quick summary of the news and then say sayonara. Tomorrow I'm flying back to DC. Sunday we will do our weekly hangout show for the paid subscribers. Thank you, Jay. As always, that would be the folks who are the monthly subscribers on TikTok. You guys can do it right now if you want. And come back Sunday at 11 a.m. Normally it's Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, but this weekend it'll be Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. For the rest of you there, any of the Discord, YouTube, Twitch, what else am I forgetting? Ko-fi. Anybody subscribing on those services as a monthly contributor should have access via Discord. And you'll join us on Discord on Sunday at 11 a.m. And I will set up a event there. Maybe I'll do it right now so I don't forget on Discord so you guys know where it is. And otherwise, I'll be back Monday from DC, Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Eastern. Dobre nič, Marie. Good to see you. All right, guys, let me do a quick summary and then we're done. Today is day 562 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. Elon Musk is now denying that he turned off Starlink internet to screw up a Ukrainian attack on Russian fleet in Crimea. Having said that, Musk does admit that the Ukrainians asked him to turn it on, and he said no, because he didn't want to get involved in the war. Ukrainian advances in Zaporizhia and in Bakhmut, 2 areas of the counteroffensive today. That's good news. A Russian missile struck the center of Kryvyi Rih, Zelensky's hometown, killing 1 person and injuring 72. At Ukraine's request, the Pentagon has decided to prolong the training of Ukrainian soldiers on Abrams tanks. The first 10 German-made Leopard 1 tanks from Denmark have arrived in Ukraine, and 10 more are on the way. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken says NATO is going to send additional F-16s to patrol Romanian airspace as a response to the Russians apparently, basically sending some drones into Ukraine that into NATO, that exploded on NATO territory in Romania. Lithuania has announced it has donated 4.5 million rounds of ammunition to Ukraine. Reuters says that Ukrainian air defense crews are banking on new and better weapon systems to help prevent Russian attacks on the power infrastructure this winter. According to a poll conducted by Levada in Russia in August, the share of people who definitely support the actions of the army in Ukraine fell to its lowest level since very early in the conflict. Just 38% of Russian civilians answer yes to the question, do they definitely support the war in Ukraine? Very interesting. What else we got here? And finally, the video circulating online of a Chinese woman who claims she's an opera singer performing within the devastated ruins of the Mariupol theater where the Russians killed 600 people, including lots of children. The Ukrainians are rightfully pissed about that. So, all right. Anyway. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off. And thank you for coming. Come back Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be back. Otherwise, Sunday morning, like I said, for the paid subscribers, 11 a.m. Eastern. Otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, mods. I'm glad to see everybody. And I'm going to wear my mask in the airport. Absolutely. I'm happy to. I haven't worn the mask in a while now, because with COVID, I was asking on Twitter, by the way, too, everyone's got stories about COVID now. Everyone's getting it again. And, I'm just not in the mood. I mean, I realize there's a chance you won't get as sick as you at the beginning, although you still could. I just don't feel like risking long COVID and everything else. And, big deal. Wear a mask. I'll live, But anyway, so yes. See you guys Monday back from DC. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night. You too. All right. Is he? All right. Wasn't sure about that. Okay. He's gone. Okay. Larry got his wings. All right. Bye, guys.